Therefore, I give the floor to Professor A Dumcius. Ladies and gentlemen, participants of the conference, first of all, I would like to welcome you all on behalf of the Seimas. On behalf of our commission, that includes members of most political groups of the parliament. You know that our commission has been engaged in activities to restore the historical justice, and we also have a public council established by the Seimas that represents most organizations related to our activities. And we receive a lot of valuable proposals from this council. I believe that we will manage to continue this tradition in our current Seimas after we make an oath in the parliament today. I would like to present a short presentation on the way to truth and reconciliation. I would like to tell you that the theme is quite similar to that of Nerijus Šepetys, Lithuania in between the two totalitarian regimes. But I am going to speak from the perspective and experience of myself as a devotee, starting from the young childhood age. So, I have experienced two totalitarian regimes, Nazism and communism. I will mainly focus on the deportations of June 1941, the most dreadful one, what we called the Black June, when I was still a baby. In 1939, 1941, maybe you know that over 30,000 of people were deported from Lithuania. 18% of people died in exile. 10,000 were imprisoned. It was not only Lithuanians that were deported, also members of minorities did not escape from this dreadful fate. 71% of the deportees were Lithuanians, whereas 12% Jews and 1% of Russians, mainly highly educated people. 1,200 people from my native town, Šakiai, were deported, included 1/3 of teachers, 79 priests. Deportees were sent to Altai, Novosibirsk, Krasnoyarsk. 7,500 people, including myself as a baby, my mother, were sent to Altai. Among deportees were high-ranking officials, officers. Troika Tribunal did not listen to the explanation of, let's say, one engineer from Kaunas who was a Jew. He was shot dead together with a lot of men. I was saved thanks to the kindness of people, even though I was very close to death. Back in 1942, 2,900 of Altai deportees were transferred to the coast of Laptev Sea, Yakutsk. And it's a paradox. When I was visiting Altai and Yakutsk, 2 times more children and elderly deportees died compared to Laptev Sea deportees. Small children and elderly people died around Altai and on the way to deportation, whereas the stronger ones were taken to the Laptev Sea in 1942. I survived, and I was probably the only one from small children and babies that were deported. As for relatives of my own and my wife, 15 people, including one priest, suffered from the horror of deportations. My father, my grandmother, my cousin, and my babysitter died in Siberia. 2 close relatives, insurgents, died in post-war Lithuania. What about the fate of Lithuania? As many as 332,000 of Lithuanian people were deported, including the later deportations, waves of deportations. They were imprisoned and became victims. Over 23,000 insurgents fell for Lithuania. As many as 490,000 people were forced to flee from their native land. This was the fate of people between the 2 totalitarian regimes. People argue today whether the Nazi period and crimes of the Soviet regime occurred due to ideology or something else. Alain Besançon called Nazism, communism, and Stalinism the deviations. Adolf Hitler, back in 1941, said that nationalism and Marxism are, in fact, the same, striving to create a new human being, a new kind of Homo sapiens, a new regime, by all possible measures. All these regimes are really identical. The Nazis were promoting the superiority of one nation, anti-communism, anti-Semitism. They created a theory, Jewish Bolshevism, and also a system for extermination of lower races. The lowest races for them were Jews, Roma people, and Slavonic nations. Whereas Stalinism deviated from its original doctrine. Deportations, imprisonment, and extermination, all that was called creation of a new human being. 2 totalitarian regimes could not collide, and that happened in June 1941. In this bloody crossing of 2 regimes, the local people were acted according to their mental understanding. There was revenge, patriotism, empathy, and a huge number of victims. Who is more guilty? Whether it's Nazi and their collaborators, I think about 9 million Germans died in the war, or Soviets, where 12 million people were killed and 22 imprisoned. It is clear that totalitarian regimes were guilty. And now, when we are creating a unified democratic Europe, it is necessary to review the old provisions. It is possible to reduce the tensions and encourage the search of justice. Therefore, we have to march along the way of justice and reconciliation. The attempts of the country, you know what country I have in mind, to deny the occupation and unwillingness to compensate for damages. The current authorities of the Russian Federation refuse to take care of the deportees' graveyards and to apologize the nations for the harm. As far as the care for the cemeteries are concerned, we don't see any progress, even though the negotiations have been going on for quite a long time. Quite recently, I visited Yakutsk as a member of the delegation, where the Yakutsk natives, former deportees, met our people with tears in their eyes because they were suffering together and they managed to survive. We met Poles, Finns, and some time ago we went to a conference to Barnaul, to the conference dedicated to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the dreadful events of 1941. In the resolution of the conference, there was a request to prolong the program of a return to Lithuania, because there are Lithuanians, children and grandchildren of deportees who haven't survived, willing to go back to Lithuania and live here. Certainly not all of them speak Lithuanian. So far, about 2,000 of these people have returned to Lithuania. The program of return and integration for the period until 2015 has been adopted by the Ministry of Social Affairs in Lithuania. We are going to put every effort to increase that all the people willing to return to the homeland of their fathers and forefathers return here. It's the dream of so many people. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor, Member of Parliament, for your very personal and very objective presentation. We still have 10 minutes for questions and answers, as long as the Member of Parliament is still here before he goes to take on the oath. It seems that the audience is sleeping. If there are no questions, yes, there is one question. I would like to invite you to our future events in this hall and in the exhibition hall. Once per month, we will meet with the political resistance movement participants, all patriots, and everyone. Thank you. What was the deed of the Kazakhs you referred to in your speech? Could you please repeat your question? What was the deed of Kazakhs you referred to? When I was near death, they helped me survive. Thank you. I have one question. Mr. Dumcius, does your commission get the assistance of the commission headed by Does your commission help the daily work of today through the prosecutor's office and the courts to legally assess the past? Thank you, Mr. Algirdas. Yes, it helps us a lot. One of the members of that commission is Mr. Andriukaitis. He helps us a lot. I have a question. Do we help? Yes. The trouble is, we had a problem with the prosecutor's office. It doesn't want to recognize the perpetrators. I took part in 3 hearings of court cases on your invitation. Some people were accused by mistake, so I helped them to get clear from the allegations. 150 cases have not been dealt with. Hearings only are organized on 1 or 2 cases. Secondly, this commission works in other areas as well. It always raises issues that are of most relevance to us, including the people who survived the resistance movement. We help the courts get in contact with the cases and with the truth of the past. Some people had been born abroad and now they have a different status, and there are many issues related with these cases and the caseload. I would like to thank Mr. Algirdas and others who take part in the commission, including Petros Eustegis and others. They do a great deal of work. I wish them to reinforce the commission, which helps us a lot. I mean, the same as commission and the public council under the commission. Thank you. Thank you.